You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. Got some special guests hanging out with us today.
Yes, sir.
My brother from Queens, Metta World Peace.
He goes back to Queens more than you, though.
No, he doesn't. We go back about the same. And also Brother Polight.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. What up?
Brother Polight, tell the people who you are for those who don't know. We know Metta World Peace, but who are you for those who don't know?
Brother Polight had the Crown Luscious Supreme Grand Apperception of our New Covenant community. I teach on comparative studies of monotheistic religions in retrospect to them being influenced by cultures of antiquity. I'm the author of 90-plus books, created my own language, Nduasusu, and presently a celebrity mentor and screenwriter, as well as debater.
And you're one of Metta's mentors, right?
That's correct.
How long you been doing that?
Mentoring or dealing with
Mentoring,
Metta.
yeah.
Metta, about going on 3 years now.
Okay.
Going on 3 years.
Now, Metta, you going back in the league this year? Are you playing?
I don't know. I mean, I can still play. Top 10 small forwards in the world, but it's a business, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's hard for me to get in because my past, it's hard for me to get in with different things. But when I play against these pros in the summertime, I be giving work. So I'm going to still play ball if it's a hoop and the court. I'm good.
What do you mean your past?
You know, I mean, sometimes it's hard to get in. It's teams that said, you know, we can't have a person like you, you know what I'm saying, in the city, which I respect.
Really?
So, I mean,
I would think after the big brawl and they let you back in.
That was over.
You was good after that.
That was over.
it's not like that bad, but
Yeah.
and I'm getting older at the same time, but I can still play. Like last year when I got in the game, I did my thing. You know? But it's a business. It's not my business, so I don't really worry about if I can't play on somebody's team. I love the game, and I played in the Watson Project yesterday. I play in Venice Beach. I play in Watts Projects in LA, so I love to play basketball. That's it.
Would you play overseas?
He did.
I did. I did that one time. I experienced it, but my next, I want to go to probably play like Angola maybe next time.
Okay.
Because I played in Italy, I played in China.
And thanks for our Pandas Friend shirts, by the way. I know you were inspired. Tell everybody
I have
how
a lot
you got
of
inspired.
inspiration from Polight. You know what I'm saying? It's risky for me, you know, being in corporate America sometimes to be, you know, associated with somebody that they are gonna give a bad name. You know, Polight. He's very passionate. You know, and I see some of the things he talk about on TV. And when I watched him on YouTube, I reached out to him through some of my people in Brooklyn. I got to meet this guy, very inspirational, and it's been nothing but he changed my life a lot.
It's interesting with you because as crazy as people say you are, you always seem like you're constantly growing and evolving. So why would you decide to take on a mentor 3 years ago?
Absolutely, because I want to keep becoming, you know, a better person.
Right.
You know, I want to just keep figuring out life. You know, and this guy right here is amazing. I heard a lot of the comments on YouTube, people talking about he's racist and he's this, that. And he's just passionate. You know, he's very passionate about, you know, different issues, you know, and a very good dude. We got white friends. We be in, you know, me and Polight be in LA, and we got a lot of white friends. But he's very passionate. He's not going to let things happen without saying anything. You understand? And he helped me evolve a lot.
What was it that made you decide that you needed to get a mentor, though? Like, what was it in his YouTubes that inspired you, and what made you say, you know what, I need somebody to help me?
Yeah, well, I got many mentors. I got different type of mentors, you know, whether it's business mentors, you know, and Polight, he's a very smart businessman, and then just very spiritual, you know, is all about love and all about empowering and very smart, you know, and it's just an honor to be around somebody as intelligent as Polight.
Now, Polight, why is it whenever a black man stands up and they're pro-black and they're trying to empower their people, the first thing they say is that you're racist?
I think because of the stigma of the history of America, whereby people are afraid of the violence that might be associated with liberation, because it almost seems like it has to run concurrent. You know, in order to be pro-black, it almost seems like we have to assert ourselves aggressively because we don't have enough platforms that allow us to disseminate this type of information. This is a rarity, what y'all doing right here.
Gotcha.
And I commend y'all for what y'all doing.
Now, you know, we're at a very, seems like a very crucial time in our country right now. Like, as far as, like, first of all, do you believe in voting? You think we should vote?
I believe in voting. My choice in voting would be for our people in particular to partake in municipal elections, which is to say local elections, because we're more effective. Because we look at the Electoral College and the popular vote, we have to come to terms that our vote is more effective, voting people in locally, because they are more empowered to make a decision on the more nationwide scale. So Like, for instance, if you look at Ferguson has a populace of about 70% black people, right? But because we don't engage in municipal elections, we find that the DA, prosecution, judges, only 5 police officers throughout the town. That comes about on account to the fact that we haven't been voting locally. So even though we may get upset and be at grievance for the fact that we have people that's not from our community enforcing policy, we also have to hold ourselves accountable as well and vote people in locally so we can have a more proportionate scale of people that favor the community to enforce the policy.
So we're worried about Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump right now, but we should also be worried about locally voting people.
We got to go in locally. That's where we're the most effective as far as on a community scale. You can't skip your community and go nationwide, because another thing that we have to do, we have to pool our funds and see to it that we help people in their endeavor to campaign. Because when you don't help people get into office and then you lobby for their attention when something happens, their first obligation is to serve the people that got them into office. So we're not helping people go through school and we're not helping fund people's campaigns. It's kind of moot to expect them to respond to any social undertaking that takes place in our community. They should, technically, but realistically in the game of politics, we have to be more assertive and have a more impactful type of clause or take more precedence in the actual strategy that's being employed by the person who will be put in position of power.
Now, when you talk about pooling your resources, Metta, how come NBA players don't take their money and put it more into the hood, like buying like black-owned grocery stores and things like that?
Because we're just not educated. If you look at the real estate business in New York City, look at all the opportunities that was presented, the boom in Long Island City. And then you get a guy like Metta World Peace, 19 years old, 1999, and I don't know about this boom. And not educated. My parents couldn't tell me in 95, hey, son, there's going to be a real estate boom, right, coming up, because we're not educated. But now we're getting more and more intelligent, urban people such as yourself, Polight, in the new collective bargaining agreement with the NBA, Chris Paul and those guys. We didn't have that with our parents growing up. So when I first got into the NBA at 19, I was in debt before I got my first check.
Damn.
I took out a $200,000 loan. So now that's $400,000, right? And then I took out a $200,000 advance. So my first 3 years, I was in debt. And if it wasn't for my next contract, I wouldn't have been straight. You understand? And I didn't pay my first tax, on a check outside of the NBA until I was 23 because I didn't know nothing about it.
Damn.
And then when I was the first one offered the vitamin water deal. They offered me equity because he's from St. John's, from Queens. I did a lot of things in the community for vitamin water. So I was pushing vitamin water in Queensbridge and doing a lot of great things. So they said, hey, since you did me this favor, I want to offer you a deal. They said, we'll give you some equity. I'm like, equity? The hell's that? Oh, give me the money. And you know what I'm saying? You understand? Yeah. And then when I found a month later, they IPO'd, now I said, I gotta learn what equity is.
50 took the equity, you took the money.
You know what I'm saying?
Damn it, man.
I didn't take nothing. I
You didn't take nothing?
I didn't do the deal. Because I wanted the money. I'm like, well, I'm gonna give you money. You understand? But it's like that education.
Right.
So then I just had to push myself, to learn business. You understand? And so now, and that's the reason.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys like that, and we need to give back to these people. Such people like yourself, myself, like.
And I think we also have a lot more information accessible to us now too. Really with the internet than we did, say, 10, 15 years ago. Because a lot of things I had to figure out how to do on my own was for me doing my own research. And it was easy information for me to find if you look for it.
Not only that, I think it's education too, because I'm sure, Ron Artest, you were probably the first person in your family to go to college.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was the same. And like you said, my pops didn't know nothing about investing. You work 50 years of your life, you retire, and you live off your retirement. That's what it was. But my son has a big outreach, and it's great that, you have a Brother Polight, and there's the NBA is what they're doing now, and they're trying to teach these athletes how to invest money and what to do with their money because they don't have it that much. So
I thought they've been doing that though.
They just started. The NBA is doing amazing things now.
Yeah.
They've been trying, but now the NBA is like amazing. They're really protecting the athletes.
How are you financially now?
I'm great. I'm very content. I'm not as flashy, buying out bars and shit. I still do my thing on the strip club. I throw some money up, but I budget the money I throw up, right? I don't throw that too much. And but I got a Prius, I got a Tesla, I got homes, and that's it. I'm cool. I don't need
You
anything
could write
too
off that
flashy.
strip club money though, right?
I don't know if you throw it in cash. I don't know if you can write it off.
So what is spiritual economics, Brother Polight, since we're talking about money?
In the language I created, we call it Kuina Akunu. But basically, the precept that we're talking about is understanding that we need the time to meditate, we need the time to pray, we need the time to read, we need the time to study. But our time is consumed by the material world. We are materially obligated to our car, materially obligated to our house, materially obligated to our phones. And in turn, it calcifies you, the who you really are, because you're plagued by trying to own and sustain these physical assets. Mm-hmm. So in a capitalistic construct, we obtain our spiritual freedom through entrepreneurship. So we have to embark upon this task through a means of education. Like, for instance, even buying real estate. We have pre-K to 12th grade. That's 14 years. No one teaches you anything about real estate. But school purportedly is preparing you for life. Mm-hmm. But you don't get no real estate classes in between. Mm-hmm. Then you have this thing called mortgage hypothecation and subprimes, where they do the analytics to anticipate what you can afford. And then in turn, because it's insured, the debts, they can actually insure your mortgage debt by way of what's called a mortgage-backed security, which is funded by people that's incarcerated. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for me to give you a loan if I know that the loan is insured. So with the subprime crisis, what they'll do with a subprime is say, we know he can only afford about $150,000 home. So what we're going to do is work with him, get his credit up overnight if we have to, and approve him for a loan for like $200,000, $300,000. And we'll know he'll go into default probably 3 to 5 years into his acquisition of this particular property. You say, well, who's giving loans out that they know a person's going to go into default? Well, when a person gets incarcerated, they normally have to sign a bid bond, payment bond, and performance bond, which gets consolidated into what's called a mortgage-backed security. Okay. And the Corrections Corporation of America acts as a surety, which is like a form of insurance, and they pledge the labor of the prisoners and allocate the monies made from their debt to society from the privatized prison system into the companies that back the mortgages. So now that you know that the debt is going to be funded by prisons, we're going to see a direct correlation between foreclosures and incarcerations, right? Which is why they have to sustain a 9 out of 10 ratio to occupancy in the prisons in order for them to make their monies before the state goes into debt. So when we understand that they're leveraging the incarceration, right, mostly black men, leveraging the incarceration of black men working in the prison system to fulfill what's called the mortgage-backed security or pledges to pay back people's debts, then it's easier for you to say, well, we could just start approving people of loans that they can't afford, because after all, you could wait the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, right, to get your interest, or you could say, you know what, we could get paid quicker if we give them something they can afford. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And turn that in real time. So we find that the commercial banks don't have the capital to wait 30 years. So they're pretty much like the guy on the block pumping D, selling the dimes. And the private investment banks, they're the ones that's moving the weight. So the commercial banks like Beaufort, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and the rest of them, they're just servicing loans on behalf of the private investment bank. And they get enough people into debt, and they consolidate the debt, and they create a bond that represents the debt of her 100,000, your 200,000, your 400,000, and probably accumulates to probably $500 million. Then they go to the big drug dealer and say, yo, can I get PC? I just got you $500,000 in debt. And they'll probably get 10% of that and get 50 million. Then they get the real capital. So understanding this puts us in a space where we understand more about mortgage hypothecation, what they call the item sonins, and what they also call conditional interest, which is when someone sells you property and you're under the presumption it's just them that's selling you the property, but in turn they have somebody else that's looking to benefit from the debt obligation without you knowing, and that's called a conditional interest. So when you go into the UCC code, UCC 9-105 in parentheses D, it lets you know that a debtor can only conditionally own property. So a lot of times people get property, and they give you the roses, and they give you the champagne, and they say, congratulations, you got your new property. When we look on the deed, it still says tenancy deed. It's like you're a tenant of your own property, because you still don't own it because you bought it by way of a conditional interest. Anybody that's suffering from foreclosures, if you were to ask the person who sold you the property, the financial institution namely, they will have to let you know, what? We don't have the original mortgage note, which would slow down the foreclosure process. You still have to go to court, but it stops it because now we know they sold it under a condition which is illegal. You feel me? Mm-hmm. They're not supposed to sell you something under the pretense that it's just you and them doing the transaction. Unbeknown to you, there are people banking on your debt to make a profit. So everybody's making money off of your debt obligation with the exception of you.
Right.
We had Dr. Umar up here, and he was talking about how hard it was for black people to get small business loans. Why do you think that is?
Well, because it's a white supremacist structure, right? And when you're talking about getting business loans, they can't stop you. And this was the problem with a lot of people because these things are done so covertly, you can't tell because there's layers of white supremacy. Okay, so even we could come out of a form of slavery, destitution, extreme poverty, and then when we transcend that level of poverty, the struggle to get from one level to the next will intimate that we're free, but we're actually in another condition of slavery, right? So when we talk about getting loans, it's not in our face cut and dry that this is racist, the system itself, but then they have things like credit card redlining, right? Where you can't deny a person of credit on account to their race, but you can ask what zip code they're from. And we know we can pretty much target a certain demographic based on the corresponding zip codes. So what they'll do is actually a zip code, and then what we don't know is called credit card redlining, where they say, well, anybody that's in these particular zip codes, deny them of credit or don't approve them of that much. So then you have to get hip to it. Like one thing that we do to get around that is you may get a UPS mailbox address because it's considered residential. And we'll say get the UPS mailbox address in a community that where most people average in the rankings of the 5%.
Right.
The 5% is anybody that's making $150,000 or more a year that could afford to invest at least 1/3 of their money, which means they have the capabilities of growing wealth. So anybody in the 5% has the capability of growing wealth. So it'd be predetermined that they can be approved for a higher credit score, right? Or be approved for a higher loan. So you get that outside of those credit card redlining areas, and then it empowers you to be able to get loans. But the reason why that's even designed in the first place is to alienate certain demographics, particularly of our race, and whoever else they may want to target.
Was you getting this kind of financial advice before, Metta? Before?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, Polight is deep. You know, he's very empowering, like I said. You know, but I had a lot of great people around me, a lot of great managements. I had TriStar Management, great management group, and they really taught me a lot. But I had to take it upon myself, you know, to learn, you know, different things.
Now you speak multiple languages. What's the language you said you made up?
Nduasusu. It means living language.
How do you just make a language?
Well, from studying other languages, a lot of languages are built upon a principle of like a trilateral root. So like you might have like in Arabic, you might have makon, right? Or you might have makan, right, which means place. And then in Hebrew, you may have makon, which means place. And then in the Paddic, you may have makun, which means place. So the vowels change, right? But the trilateral root or the consonants are the same, M, K, and N. You feel me? So in a lot of these languages, like kitab or katub, means scripture or means book, you kind of pick up what they're saying. Now, people, because of probably religious reasons and their insecurities, they may not want to contend that there's a similitude to the different languages because they want to be exclusive in their own right. But a person that's just genuine and studying the languages, you can see how these languages springboarded from a source language. So once you kind of get an understanding of the trilateral root from Proto-Semitic languages, it becomes a lot more easier. But the reason why I created a language is because we have to reestablish our sovereignty. And we're not talking about throwing your birth certificate in the water and social security card and all that stuff. We're talking about just having some kind of autonomous control over our culture. You understand? And you can tell who's colonized, or you can tell who colonized the people based on the language that they speak. And if we're going to talk about being free, one of the things we have to do is reintroduce ourselves to a new tongue, whether it be a tongue that is ancient, that most people are not speaking of, or one that we just create from scratch so no one can tell us the right way to say it once we start learning it. We need some kind of control because language transmission is deep. It impacts the way that our brain grows. And so they de-emphasize, in the 1600s, the London Missionary Society de-emphasized language because they understand like their gene's called the ASPM gene. When you speak tonal languages, it actually helps the brain grow. So you'll see people have different sized craniums from different parts of the world that speak tonal languages. Tonal languages use sounds differently from like English. Like English has been de-emphasized, right? So you'll have And when you learn English, you'll find that it's harder to study other languages. But people whose native tongue is tonal have an easier time learning other languages. That's not by coincidence. So like you look at the word Michael, right? CH is pronounced like a K, right? But in the older time or older English, it's pronounced like a het, like in Hebrew, right? Or you look at the word Quran. In English, we just pronounce the K and the Q the same exact way. But the Q is supposed to be pronounced like from the back of the throat, like when we making fun of the Africans, right? And exactly, something like that. That's a Q sound.
Yeah.
K and Q don't sound alike. Why would someone create a language and make a K and a Q sound exactly alike? That's not true. It's because the tones have been de-emphasized. So like the word light, L-I-G-H-T, one of the ancient Hebrew letters that's not even in contemporary Hebrew, right? Proto-Semitic language phonetics shows us that GH is supposed to have a guttural sound and it's let off by the constricting of the throat. So light should be, that's a GH, the same sound that the babies make, which is very important because when you make these sounds or you use the mouth palate, the uppermost part of the mouth, what it causes is your tonsils to vibrate, right? And it causes your appendix to vibrate. And that sets something off in the body that causes neurons to just explode. And then neurons shoot from one side of the brain to the next and connect dendrites. And then it creates an information highway. And what you're doing is sewing the brain together. It's not big to be a genius. You just have to use the left cerebral hemisphere and the right cerebral hemisphere. You feel what I'm saying? So you'll find when we look all over the world, we drive on the left side. We use the left side of the wheel when we're driving. But you go on the other side of the wheel, you use the right side. The toilet bowl goes clockwise, and the other side counterclockwise. When we want to inspire people or make them spiritual, we communicate, we speak it, right? We do lectures, we chant, we say Jesus. But on the other side, they breathe and they meditate. Over here, people are obese. Over there, people are skinnier, right? So what we find is the planet is on a 23.5-degree axis. So it's on a tilt. So you tend to use one eye more than the other, one leg more than the other. You lean to one side more than the other. So to enhance your consciousness, you have to either travel or make a more concerted effort to exercise the other part of the brain. So the left side is math, science, language, and reading. The right side is music, art, emotions. Sometimes when people say no words could express what I feel, it's because words is on the left side and feeling is on the right, and they didn't make a connection. And that's what consciousness is holistically, which would make you a genius.
So how do you balance it out?
Well,
Like what are some of the exercises you could do?
Oh, balancing it out, one of the best things to do, because it's called a living language, is to eat live food or to take good herbs like coppadula, sarsaparilla, cheney root, monkey ladder, greenback. These are herbs. Every taste corresponds with a healing modality. So what happens is cancer's high in our community because we don't eat bitter food. Bitter corresponds with anti-cancer agents. The more bitters you have, the least susceptible and prone you'll be to cancer. We're talking about being alive again. Being alive is predicated upon having a megahertz frequency of 72 to 90 via the brain. If the brain is powered at 72 to 90 megahertz, scientific fact, by Dr. Taino, who scaled frequencies of the human body in 1992. So you can look it up as a source, but he's not the only source. 72 to 90 megahertz causes the body to be healthy, right? Scientific death, which a lot of people walking around here scientifically dead, starts at 25 megahertz. Cancer starts at 42 megahertz. Disease in general starts at 58 megahertz. Candida is 55 megahertz. If a person has cancer, they're on a 42 megahertz frequency. Geniuses vibrate at 80 megahertz upward. Health in general is 72 to 90. So what we're talking about here is keeping the body alive, but we have to eat the right foods that invoke a higher frequency of thought. If we don't have a higher frequency, then there we go. We're closer and closer to death. So you can actually be walking around here scientifically dead. Even though your eyes are open and your lips are moving, we have to make sure that we eat foods that sustain at least the standard of living, which is 72. But the ideal is to try to get to 80 plus. But even the music throws us off a little because that's a part of frequencies. And when we go back to our cultures of antiquity, our music was natural. So like even if we use the drum, we was employing two different sciences. Botany, right, which is the plant kingdom, the bark of the drum, and then zoology, which is the skin of the drum. So we was in tune and in conformity with nature. You feel what I'm saying? The music used to be at middle C. Now it's at A, which means it's speeding up. So it's actually causing advanced glycation N, which is an acronym for age, which means we're getting older by listening to the music. This is why they don't want women that's pregnant or conceiving to stand in front of a microwave. Why? Because food is being heated up by what? Way of sound waves. They use sound waves to heat up the food. And if you stand in front of those sound waves while you conceive it could destroy the child. But what if you're not conceiving a child? Then you're destroying yourself, right? So if the music is speeding up and you're wearing headphones and it's turned on at high intervals and it's not moving at middle C but it's at A, we're going to get thrown off. But a lot of us don't read music no more anyway.
Is that like radiation?
That's exactly what it is. And then the frequency. The radiation is a form of frequency. So the radiation being precipitated is around candida, towards candida and cancer. The music, when we have it speeding up like that, we're actually on a candida cancer frequency, and it's on the rise in the community because we're not listening to natural sounds.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. Recently, Michael Jordan posted and donated $2 million, right, all because of the police brutality that's been happening. He opened up a little bit about himself and his family history. How much of a responsibility do you think that celebrities and athletes have to speak out, donate money, and give their time to causes and speak out against police brutality?
I think they have a tremendous responsibility, but they definitely need mentors. Because when me as a conscious advisor, which is the euphemism I choose, but celebrity mentor is just as good, what my goal is to bridge a gap between people lacking in resources that have some knowledge of self and the people that have resources that may be lacking knowledge of self because their profession keeps them so preoccupied, right? And then there's this disconnect between the two communities where the lower income black community is constantly slandering and condemning people that have more resources than themselves. Right. They may suggest that they're Illuminati or they brown nose or they kissing some white man's behind. You feel me? When in fact they just worked. What we gotta understand is still slavery, because in slavery times, right, this is transgenerational behavior. The slave could only get their food, clothing, and shelter from who? Their master. So when people are on the slave frequency of thought, they can only conceptualize that a black man or a black woman got successful because the white man gave them food, clothing, and shelter, because they don't know nothing outside of that particular auspice of thought.
Ooh,
you feel what I'm saying? So it's a slave state of mind to assume that someone had to do something to compromise their moral integrity to get material success or gain. But back to the question, the reason why we would need celebrity mentors or conscious advisors is because we can build a better bond between the two communities. And as being a celebrity mentor, my job is to add educational components to people's brains so they can understand what would be a more worthwhile or substantive type of investment or donation. I'm not one to tell people what to do with their money. So when Michael Jordan gave $1 million here and $1 million here, I thought it was pretty political. I don't want to be seen too pro-black, so let me make sure I give police money. But what we got to understand is when you have mentors in place that's studying these types of things, then you can say the police department doesn't need no more money. And I understand as brothers and sisters, we're using strategy, so we're probably saying let's give the police something so they understand that we're not trying to go against the system. And we're also probably not trying to hurt our brand by exclusively identifying with the black cause, though we're black. But we got to take into consideration, like, for instance, Laquan McDonald. He's a brother that was shot about 16 or 17 times, Laquan McDonald. His family was paid $5.9 million by Chicago to hush them, to make sure they don't speak about police brutality, to make sure they don't speak about him being slain. And what they did, that settlement, that was part of the stipulation of the settlement. So civil suits circumvent the actual indictment.
Because Freddie Gray.
Same thing Freddie Gray, whose family got about
6.8, I think it was.
Yeah. So they get silenced. So while we out here, we protesting, we risking our lives, it gets out of control, people getting locked up, we turned up, we steal the toilet paper, break the glasses, we doing all sorts of craziness. And meanwhile, somebody is told, don't say nothing. And then if you're on outside of things, when you're actually being proactive, the families will reach out to you and tell you, we don't want that. Please stop talking. When you're on my side of things, you get told, don't do that no more. Please, if you love us, don't say nothing. So after a while, we like, we got to do the research on this. So we find places like Chicago has used over $500 million since 2004 in hush money, settlement monies. And even worse, we have to look at it like, okay, the families are poor that's being exploited. The funds is not coming out of the police department, which they should. The funds is not coming out of the recompense or the check from the guilty officers. No. These funds is coming from the resources that's supposed to be used by or for the community, for their playgrounds, for their schools, okay? And then insurance companies are making money because the police department borrows from them and pays it off in like 30 years, almost like we're real estate or we're property. You understand what I'm saying? So if it came from police, then they probably be less likely to murder us at the rate that they're doing because they'll have to come out their pockets. But it's not coming out of the police officers' checks, nor is it coming out of their budgets. So the reason why I'm opposed to basketball players giving monies to the police departments, the police departments haven't even accessed the monies that they need to put into the community that they're murdering. But the gesture is nice. So I don't disrespect, which is the route most conscious people might go. I don't disrespect brothers and sisters who use their monies in an endeavor to do something positive. We just have to raise the cognition of people politically so they can make more politically sound decisions, because we're funding a people that's not even using the funds that they need to remedy the situation. So the $1 million probably wouldn't have no purpose either that Michael sent.
So what do you think about protesting? Because like you said, I go out there and protest. The family done got $6 million. We fighting for a cause that doesn't really matter necessarily because they're not even fighting for it.
That's a fact. Protesting is great. I used to be very opposed to protesting. I just came back from Cleveland, Ohio. Because it's pop. You know, rumors are very popular. Yo, protest ain't gonna do nothing. All we're gonna do is another march. You know, we hear that.
Right.
After a while, you hear so much redundancy, voice of brain. You start saying the same thing too. But when we went out and protested in Cleveland, Ohio for the Republican National Convention, you know, I was on C-SPAN and Fox 5, turned up and did a few follow-up interviews thereafter. And what we did after the rally, we marched into the communities, and it's on YouTube. I am Brother Polight. We marched into the community, and we detoured the route from the 2-mile walk that we was gonna make to go into the church. We went into the projects. We went into the houses, and I told everybody, chant, come out your house. And everybody came out the house. We made them join us en route to have a political action class. We was also with Attorney Malik Zul-Shabazz, all right, and several different very prolific writers and elders that joined us in our endeavor. And what happened was, who didn't come, we got their numbers, and we told them where to go for follow-ups. That's important because unfortunately some of us are more responsive when there's reason for stimulus. Meaning when you see all these people out your house that's chanting Black Power and let's get up, it's time to wake up, people like realize, oh man, that's like their coffee, right? But under normal circumstances, they may be reluctant to be part of anything. Sometimes you actually need someone to catch a body.
And also you have to be protesting and knowing what you're asking for. You don't just protest, you have to have certain things that you know you want to get out of it.
This is correct. So that's why protesting is great if the purpose is to mobilize, and that is to say to organize people to come to service, much like they would do in the military. If you just go out there to speak and it's being publicized before national media, that's good, depending on the message. So there's nothing wrong with rallying, there's nothing wrong with protesting. Where we lose at a lot of times is the follow-up. Like we've been having follow-up meetings in Ohio. I didn't have a branch of my community in Ohio until I last came from there about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Because if you don't do the follow-up, what you're doing is killing the future of organizing, because the people that participated in the inception of that movement, they will say, well, they came into town and we ain't see them again until someone got killed. So you got to keep the follow-up going. That's the only cliche or the only bad part about protesting, if the organizers are not going to be consistent after the excitement. You got to keep that going.
That's one thing we don't do after vote neither. We vote somebody in and then we fall back. But we got to stay on them to do the things that they said they were going to do while they was running.
That's a fact.
You know, I got a lot of flack for this, and I say this all the time. I feel like, especially in our community, we don't know what to do. So there's nobody necessarily to follow. Like, you know, like we talked about financial knowledge. You know, I didn't know who to follow, so I made my own mistakes. Like my son will know who to follow because I'm teaching him financial knowledge, giving him financial knowledge.
Makes sense.
So even with our community, it's like, who are the young leaders that we follow? Like, you know, you say, okay, this happened. Now what do we do? Everybody's mad. Everybody's upset. Oh my God, F this, F that. But now who's the person that we say, okay, well, he's gonna take us to the promised land, or who's gonna take us to where we need to go? You know,
like we got OGs, of course, like the Minister Farrakhan's, Elijah Muhammad's, Malcolm X. They've all laid blueprints for us to follow. But who are the new?
Oh, and that's what's essential. And we in a beautiful day and time where we have our own media. So we have like different media platforms, like my brother Rich, Black Magic 363, Know the Ledge. Definitely brother Sinetta, Sinetta TV, Black News 102. These are very important outlets. The Breakfast Club, which is extremely powerful. You know, people were like celebrating, like, yo, Black gonna be there. I'm like, I didn't even know it was that deep. I knew y'all was deep, but I didn't know how important it was for people to get the message out. Sometimes you think people don't care because you see the ignorance more than you see the support for consciousness, right? So the new age, there's a disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation. I get a lot of flack because I'm pro-black. I think I'm pro-black as it is. My children are born in the house. You feel me? My children are homeschooled. Okay?
You want to take them to the hospitals and none of that?
Nah, but I'm not extreme. So if it was necessary, I would, but it hasn't been necessary. You know, one of the things, I mean, we got to look at the hospital, just to detour a little bit. They'll have would you lay down to defecate? Like if you had to use the bathroom and you get closer and closer to your house and you're like, man, it's starting to really come out. Would you then go to the toilet and lay down to try to make it come out? No, you wouldn't. You would squat. That's kind of like what we do when we're on the toilet. But now here's a woman that's supposed to give birth to a child in the medical institutions where all these people with certificates are going to turn around and tell that woman to lay down, to go against gravity and compromise the integrity of her spine, all right, and then want to induce labor, all right, and give her epidurals. And if the child is born inside of 30 to 45 minutes from the time of that shot, then the child comes out, their eyes closed, we thinking it's perfectly normal, but the child is drugged up. That's crazy. But we could go to Egypt, like I went to Egypt, and I went to the world's first hospital, Temple Philae, and you see all over the walls, the women squat and do not go against gravity. But they were the ones that's considered to be incompetent. But today in contemporary science, we got women still laying down. And even the placenta, because I delivered my daughters. I didn't cut the placenta when the baby came out. We let the afterbirth come out. And we let the placenta continuously contract so the rest of the stem cells could get to the child, which would diffuse the potentiality of the child actually getting sick. And it heightens that child's consciousness. Absolute fact, my daughter was 4 years old speaking 4 languages, my Hotep Atumre. So, but we cut it the second the child was born. And if we were to go to the hospital right now and say, I would like to keep the afterbirth, they would give us hell. We would have to sign all sorts of applications and everything just to have entitlement to something that comes out of that woman's body. We would actually sign off papers if we had to go to the hospital for the people that tell, make sure you get your placenta, make sure you get your afterbirth. They will give you hell to do that. Why? Because it has so much DNA and so much of those stem cells that's used to cure people that come from a different demographic, who have more genetic implications, right? And they use us as the fountain of youth. It's no different from Henrietta Lacks, the oldest woman on planet Earth. They've been still using her cells from the time she was alive decades ago, okay? Henrietta Lacks, they use her cells to create the remedy and the cures for several of the diseases that we are subject to today as a black woman. And we look her up and we'll see they've been using her DNA from the time that she died without the permission of her family to cure people of other races. Henrietta Lacks, you can look it up. So the reason why I don't take my children to the hospital, the reason why I suggest, we have doulas and midwives. Do it at home. It's because, for one, you don't want to be exploited genetically and financially, because anything that has a certificate on it, like a birth certificate, has a QSIP, and a QSIP is a Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedure, and the key word is security. And the security is a paper certificate that attests to ownership and equity, as in the case of a stock, or ownership of a bond, as in the case of a debt obligation, which has tradable derivatives, which means it can be sold in the stock market. So all this merely means, if you have a death certificate, you have a birth certificate, you have a marriage certificate, somebody is making money. There's already been a promissory note. There's already a promise what this person is going to make. And your failures cost money. Your failures make people money. Like if you get married and you have over $15,000, $20,000 in back taxes due, they won't allow you to get a divorce. Now, what part of your marriage said that in the contract? You feel me? That means the state is making some money off the situation. So that man could be abusing you. You could be on the verge of dying in that relationship. You ain't gonna get that divorce if you owe too much property taxes. You didn't know that when you married him, that was part of the implication, but it has a QSIP on it, a Committee on Uniform Securities Identification Procedure. And the word security intimates that there's a debt obligation. So you can't be brought into this world without someone monetizing it. You can't die without someone monetizing it. And you can't get together without someone monetizing it, because we go into the legal context of law, we'll see that the word minority means what? An adult that thinks in an adolescent state of mind that needs a third-party medium to help them facilitate. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't. So you are acting in your minority. It's a dichotomy to the words that we use. So we may use the word minority and think that it loses a percentage. But when we're dealing with law, we see the word minority means that you're an adult that can't make decisions on your own. So you need someone to marry you. You need someone to send you to Allah or to God or to Jehovah or Yahweh Shai or Yeshua. You need somebody to bring you into this world, because you can't do it yourself because you're too incompetent. So for that reason, in addition to the health implications, a child being in the womb of a mother for 9 months darkness than to be subject to lights that do not biologically embed. Sunlight grants us intelligence, and it communicates higher thoughts and frequency to us, which empowers the body to be able to facilitate in ways that is most conducive and progressive for the human body. But to bring a child out of darkness for 9 months conception, and a woman has to go through 3 perfect ovulations for her to even be able to conceive. So 3 months inception, 9 months conception, 12 months totality. That child is born from darkness, subject to all these bright hospital lights. That's wicked. You know how you feel when you're in a dark house for a long period of time and then you go out and the sun is there? You get this headache. Imagine how the child feels when the child is born after being submerged in the darkness of the mother's womb, only to come out to these bright lights and to be held by someone that's not even the father, someone that contributed to the birth of the child, but to a stranger. And then this woman cannot keep her child long enough because then she got to go on maternal leave, so she got to go back to work, right? So that psychologically plagues that child because that child's not ready to let go of their mother, but she has to go back to work. So we have to work harder to get our women off the clock because 6 months is not enough time for someone that stayed in the womb for 9 months and 3 months ovulation. Because when a woman is born, she's born with all the ovate cells she'll ever have. So when a woman is born, she's born with all the children she will potentially have. And she is a summation of all the stress incurred, all the damage and all the affliction that she may have had to endure. Our children are a summation of everything she experienced from the time she came into this world, which is why we teach that the black woman is God and we got to protect and honor her. And we don't mean it that she created every single thing here. We mean she's part of everything that is here outside. So we got to respect our women. We got to understand whatever we do to her afflicts our children before they even conceived.
Now, you have multiple wives, right? When I met you last weekend in L.A., you introduced a young lady as one of your wives. I was like, whoa, I need to get to know this brother. How you pull that off?
We say love is law, family is business. And, of course, people will say that it's pimping because we normally we find the closest reference point to whatever it is we're trying to understand, right? So with a lack of knowledge, the first thing we'll go to is that's kind of like pimping. No, pimping is a perversion of what's in us genetically, okay? It's just a perversion of the same. So we say love is law, family is business. All the words that we look at that women particularly want in a relationship is there's a dichotomy to it. And if we lean towards the business aspect, by default, we'll get into the emotional clause. So when we say love is law, family is business, like for instance, in law, a friend is one who's willing to invest in you and one you're willing to invest in. So we start off as friends. But remember, love is law, family is business. The people that rule the world, Illuminati, whoever you want to call them, we know that they're all tied in by blood. Bankers, we call them. But we know they're all tied in by blood. They're families. So now we have to start doing the same thing. When people are at war, it is imperative that the women can be able to cleave on to another family. I don't suggest every brother do this. You got to be able to have a monogamous and successful relationship before you can even think about having a 2-fold, 3-fold, 4-fold relationship. So let's just start it on a monogamous level. Love is law, family is business. A friend is one who's willing to invest in you or one you're willing to invest in. Friend. Then the woman wants what? She wants a sense of security, right? And we went over what a security is. But the security is a paper certificate that attests to ownership and equity. Ownership of what? Well, the man and the woman should go into business with each other. So let's say they purchase a property. So they set up a trust. She wants trust too. We're going to just do the business part first, and we're going to see how it precipitates the emotional context of the same because of the dichotomy to the words. There's the emotional part, and there's the business part. So she wants a trust. So trust is when property is held on behalf of another so that someone else can benefit. Maybe the children be the beneficiaries of the trust. And the security is going to identify the equity as it relates to the contract. And now we have a bond. And the bond is what? A debt obligation. So now I'm going to have shares. We're going to say we're going to split this mom 50-50 down the line. You feel what I'm saying? So now we got bonding, we got sharing, we got a sense of security, we got trust, and we got friendship. When we buy this property, let's say we get some tenants and we start renting it out. When you make money off of something that you invested in, it appreciates. So now she got appreciation. She wants a sense of appreciation. And then you got what? Consideration. Consideration is when two parties identify an asset and decide to go into business with each other because they feel it's reciprocity is going to take place or that it's going to be a venture that's going to be mutually beneficial to the both of them. In law, that's called consideration. So we got consideration, we got appreciation, we got trust, we got security, we got bonding, we got sharing, and we got friendship. If we were to start our relationships off with that, when we making money together and we doing good together, the love aspect, the emotional aspect of those things would be good. So even though I'm polygynous, if we just use this model to erect a good business called family, we would be in a better position because I believe the reason why our relationships are not that consistent is because we're plagued financially. And then eventually the woman may have become a financial slave to the man. So when she breaks up, she has absolutely nothing. And he has whatever he has, even if it's a little, he has a little bit more. Because she might have sacrificed so much just to get with the brother. And now she's become an economic slave. So now she's going to use the system and say, well, I got no other choice. What I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to die here and just be pro-black and just allow you to do your thing? No, she's going to use the system. He's going to be abused by the system because the system's going to say this is an opportunity to not only diminish his funds, but we're going to make sure you only have $35 left in your check. We're not even going to be sensible. And we're going to give you child support, but child support is not going to be inclusive of you being able to teach your child how to ride a bike or how to read or get hugs during the day. We don't need that. We just need you to give money to your child. So what this does is create a conflict in this man's mind, like, man, these black women, I'm going to make sure I don't give her my real name. I want to have sex with her, but I ain't going to give her my real name. I'm going to give her my real address. I ain't going to do none of that because my man's had to fly back to Jamaica before his passport got revoked. My other man can't drive because of child support. So people are overwhelmed. We're being exploited because of our inability to execute financially. Somebody's getting a percentage off all that child support. Mm-hmm. And they're benefiting from the gender-specific war that will be waged because you can't blame the black man for being mad at her because he's being treated unfairly. Like, there's no law saying, you know what, Ma, you can get child support, but after one child, you can't get child support. That'd be dope. No, you can have any amount of babies with any amount of men, and you're still going to be entitled to child support. These are people that create rocket ships that purportedly go to other planets. You should be wise enough to know that the system can be abused and manipulated. We from New York. When a brother learns how to bend the Metro card and swipe people through for free, eventually you see federal offense. If we catch your ass swiping somebody, you're going to be fined. I think they can see that the child support thing is being manipulated by sisters, but they don't care. They want the war between a man and a woman. And of course, I'm not against child support, unfortunately. You know why? Because I just wish we can control it a little bit more. But you have to do it because people are going to be wicked. Right. So when you're dealing with the both parties, it's hell. But what can we do to nullify that? By raising our financial cognition in the community and treating our families more like business, meaning if that man doesn't come in with something that can be held in trust, so if y'all should part, you don't feel like you got the butt of the joke, like you have absolutely nothing as a woman. You already have dowry from the jump when y'all say, look, we're serious. I need to know that I got something before you. If you love me that much, make sure in the event that I have a child with you or I contribute that much to your life, emotionally or what have you, that you still have something when I leave. If the man behaves like that, I believe that's a potential remedy for some of the strife and the response that we get that's very aggressive from women. So we just got to teach more financially how to maintain and sustain a relationship. And I believe it'll get rid of a lot of our problems.
Now,
but definitely multiple wives is in me. I don't want to cheat and I don't want to lie to people. I don't.
How many wives do you have?
I have 4. I'm polygynous in a de facto sense.
I don't even know what that means, but that sounds amazing, my brother. 4
But
wives.
he's saying you don't recommend that everybody can do that.
I definitely wouldn't.
That's what Angela wants to reiterate.
I don't recommend it because we don't want to bastardize. I mean, we're already creating enough people void of father in the household. So I wouldn't want someone to irresponsibly do it because I know a lot of, I know a bunch of single women who have more children than I have as a polygynous man with 4 wives. You know, there's plenty of women out there. Huh?
How many kids do you have?
I got 3 girls. You feel me? And I know plenty of women with more than 3 children. But that don't mean there's something wrong with them. We're not going to go back to the TLC song and all that. I'm just saying it is what it is. I'm disciplined. I'm sexually disciplined. I never want to see poverty again. I cringe at the thought that I won't be able to give my children what I need. I'm a man my father left us at the age of 8. My mom, I met her when I turned 17. She died the week that I met her. I spent most of my life in juvenile detention facilities, Rikers Island, prison, and shelters. In between that, I was sneaking to shower in my friend's house, and the mother would see smoke on the mirror after I said, "Can I use the bathroom?" She's like, "What kind of showers in someone's house when they actually use the bathroom?" And I was treated, you know what I'm saying? And I'm treated like a criminal because I had no home. Now, poverty has traumatized me. So even when people see me, and this goes back to the other question, the leaders for today, I'm different in as far as the fact that though I'm pro-black, I still understand that me buying material things is a form of my therapy. So they say you pro-black, why you wear Versace? This, that. I contribute way more to the black community through thought and through monies. that's just a fact. You feel what I'm saying?
You still want to feel good.
But for me, as therapy, if you don't burn out your desires burn you out. So no one has the right to tell me what my dreams are. Like, everybody's dream when you get conscious is supposed to be, I just like Frank and Murr, dashikis and glops of shea butter. That's like your entrance into consciousness, right? But I tried that. I didn't feel comfortable. You know why? Because when I was a young man, I always wanted that nice car. I caught me a Rolls Royce. It's a $300,000 car. They say, brother, that could have went to a school. Brother, that could have went to this, that, and the third. Well, I contribute to a lot of things. But guess what? When I was a young man, I always wanted it. So what I'm doing, they say is materialistic, but to me, I'm materializing my conceptions. That's actually magic, to have something in your mind that only you could conceive. And many people don't even think that you could get it in the first place. And then one day you're actually living in the presence of that thought. That's magic. That's manifestation. We're either going to deal with manifesting or man-infestation. It's going to be one of the two. If you don't manifest your thoughts, it's going to be man-infestation. You're going to become a burden to yourself and a burden to other people because you're going to be depressed that you never accomplished things that you wanted. So for me, I've burned that out. Now I don't need the big, expensive car. You know why? Because I always wanted it when I was young. I got involved in the acquisition of it. Now I burnt it out. It don't mean a lot to me. Everybody doesn't have the same desires. My desires were very materialistic. I'm a young man from Brooklyn, Brownsville. I wanted nice cars, lots of money. I did a picture on Instagram showing me with $100,000. And people like, yo, that's wrong. But I'm motivating the people that I know think like I think at that age. Because when I was younger, that was my barometer for success. To see a man have that much money was a barometer for success. Oh, he's successful. When we look at it, we tend to make righteousness synonymous with poverty and consciousness equal to the devil, right? If you're making money, you're of the devil. If you're conscious, it's okay to be broke. You feel me? I don't like that concept. So I know I'm speaking to my generation.
It's like putting the medicine in the candy. Because they'll see you like that and they'll be like, who's this Brother Polight guy? And they'll pay attention.
The same with law. But when I teach, I'm in my cultural regalia. I have my own brand. These are my clothes. These are my headdresses. We make them. I have my own publishing company. I've written over 90 plus books. I publish my own books. I've also write books for other people. I help Metta put out children books, selling overseas. You feel me? And we got some other book projects coming out. I'm working with a book with Tori Hart, okay, about her breakup with Kevin Hart. Okay, I'm working with her on that as well. You know, because that's what I also do, ghostwriting. You know, and so it's just being able to diversify our portfolio. We say we want to reach out to people. So I connect with Sister Delicious, or I connect with Sister Lena. And yeah, they may be video vixens, and they may show their ass and all this other stuff. But I thought these are the people we're supposed to connect with. Then when I connect with these people, I get condemned. I get chastised. It's like they only want you to teach people that's already in the know. You feel what I'm saying? And then when you get around the people who may not necessarily be in the know, but have tremendous following, then you get condemned. So you want celebrities to be conscious, but you don't want the conscious man to become a celebrity.
That's not the point of a messenger. A messenger is supposed to teach everybody.
Teaching everybody.
Without judgment.
Yeah. Without judgment.
Now, I can't go, like 4 or 5 days ago, I was in Puffy crib. He invited us over. Ty Dolla's there, Usher's there, his children jumping all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And we chilling, right? I can't be the only in there with the shea butter and, you know, the pick in my head. You know, I'm going to stand out. There's nothing wrong with it, right? But, I mean, like, it's just going to be weird. The defense mechanism's going to come like, yo, why the brother don't sense his environment? You feel what I'm saying? Before I got here, broke day in the studio with King Los. Probably the dopest lyricist ever.
Salute to my guy, King Los.
Yeah, King Los is dope.
Amazing.
You know, I'm in there with King Los and what's the brother? Kid Ink, right? And we there at the breaking day. Omarion's adjacent to us recording something. I can't go in there. Just, you know, with a certain frequency of thought. We invite people to the information. There's time and place for these things. I don't have to forcibly impose the fact that I'm smart or I'm in the know of something to people who may also be smart in different capacities at different things that they do. This is what I do. And in order for me to share it, I want to keep you comfortable. I want to walk in and be amongst y'all like you to build with you. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So a lot of people don't even know I got a shrine in my crib. You know, I meditate, I do all sorts of stuff. But I have to, your wardrobe is just that. This is the garment that you wear when you go on the wall. I'm at war right now. You feel what I'm saying? So sometimes I have to, just like when the military, they have you wear camouflage to do what you got to do. This is my camouflage. When I got to teach the people, sometimes I do this, depending on the demographic I'm reaching out to. Then there's other times I wear something else, depending on the demographic I'm reaching out to. Because ultimately, there's a psycho-demographic. There's a frequency that a group of people cluster in, and they're responsive to what they see before they hear. You feel what I'm saying? We got to, companies such as like fast food companies, they'll turn around and they'll say, okay, when you combine red and yellow together, it stimulates hunger. It makes people believe that they're hungry when you put red and yellow together. So when you look at fast food restaurants, the billions of dollars that's put into marketing is because the stuff works. You feel what I'm saying? So we also have to employ the same strategy if we want people to respond to the things that we're saying. We got to understand it transcends talent. Just like music. We know there's a lot of talentless people that's out there, right? But the marketing behind some of these talentless people is just phenomenal, right? And no matter how much talent another brother or sister will have, they will never be as successful until they get the other components of the business right. You feel what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with this information. We got to have leadership that's not afraid to be mocked or ridiculed in their inception of communicating with the people. Because right now, I don't think anybody that's in the conscious community is moving the way exactly that I'm moving, like the circles that I'm in. I mean, you can name the number one female athlete, number one male athlete. It doesn't matter. You'll see Polight right there. That's because I got a different vision, and I'm supposed to do what I do. Everybody has their route and what they're supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. Once you know what you're supposed to do, it's a wrap.
So where can they find you, Brother Polight?
I am brotherpolight.com. Also, download the app if you want to get access to anything I'm doing. So it's a Brother Polight app. We got a real estate game that's going to be on there that's just amazing. But I just wanted to grow as we go. So you can just download Brother Polight. That's the app. It works. It's real fun. And then you can go to my email, Brother Polight, Polight. It's an acronym: pride, optimism, love, integrity, gallant, honesty, and trust. Brother Polight 45@gmail.com. Brother Polight. The app will get you access to my I Am Brother Polight website and my I Am Brother Polight YouTube. And again, I just want to thank brothers like Sarnetta again, Black News 102, because his platform is amazing, and I was able to catalyze the experience of using his platform to reach out to other people, such as also my brothers from Know the Ledge and Black Magic 363. Those are brothers that's been working with me for a long period of time, and I just had to make sure I showed them love. And again, I commend y'all for just giving us the opportunity to share this information because it's important, and it's a risk in some factors, you know, and I know people condemn y'all. I know after this it's probably going to be the hair commercial, you know, but
you can finance a weave if you need to.
Yeah, but you know, that's dope. You know why? Because guess what? Black women should be encouraged to take control of an industry making billions of dollars off of them. Like, why don't they get involved with the industry? We should. Where's that at? So I just thank y'all, man. DJ Envy, y'all super dope. You know, and I understand what it is. I understand what you're doing. I don't even want to talk about what exactly you're doing, because that's almost like dry snitching.
Spook by the door. Spook who sat by the door.
Spook that sat by the door.
Let's keep it where it's at.
Keep it where it's at. You already know.
And Metta World Peace, thank you so much again.
My man,
for coming.
Thank y'all.
You have new music, right?
Yes, come on.
Queensbridge United. We it was a movie at Starlit Strip Club. The next day I was speaking in front of a sobriety group. But you know, that's what I do. You know, I like to give back, and I like music. And people's like, how you gonna be in the strip club doing a show? And then the next day you talking to a bunch of, it was all white people, and and everybody, most of the white people that was there, they died before. They always you know. But I like to give back. I like to be in, you know, I like to do the music. I had to mention that, but it was a movie in Starlet. The whole hood was out. It was crazy.
Yeah, I saw it on the gram.
It was real crazy. I had all the OGs out.
Yes.
And we moving. And I got a song with Load of Lux and Daylight, which I love. Hollow the Dawn. I got The Game on the album.
I meant all.
I got it's great. Thank you for mentioning that for me. Appreciate y'all.
Can I just shout out Brother B Dot, because that's one of my artists as well.
Okay.
And I'm working with Daylight right now, so you're gonna see a whole new Daylight, because I know he's on the stage and all that, but you're gonna see a new Daylight. But he's amazing.
When I was with him shooting the movie a couple weeks ago, he was
very
way
positive,
more
brother.
conscious. Yeah, talking way different.
Yeah, that's who he is really. He's a conscious and highly spirited brother. And also my sis Victoria, who I just signed to my label, she's amazing. She had a spinal infection and brain infection that disabled her from being able to walk and be able to talk. She had to learn how to talk again, learn how to walk again. She's from Haiti. Her parents were incarcerated. She left California with her dog and a suitcase, and now she's singing. If you hear her sing, you could tell that her conviction comes from the hurt, the pain, and the strife. And so she's amazing. So Victoria, you're gonna definitely gotta listen out to her. I gotta collaborate with some powerful people. She's amazing.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming through.
Thank you so much, man.
Metta World Peace, Brother Polight.
Love y'all.
Breakfast Club, good morning.
If superior hair extensions, clip-ins, and tape-ins are an absolute must, you have to get the #1 rated hair extensions in the world. Her Imports is 100% certified real virgin human hair and trusted by celebrity stylists worldwide. Celebrities swear by our products, and now you can too. We now offer financing for our products at herimports.com for a limited time, or go into one of our convenient locations in your city. We offer 100% Indian temple bundles that will have you looking flawless for years. Visit us online right now at herimports.com.
The Breakfast Club. Every weekday morning. Tune in